Alright guys, so in today's video, we are going to take a look at a game that I recently played against, what's that, Helvcott? Anyways, let's get straight into this game. So the game begins with e4, e5. And now, I usually like to play d4, bishop f4, the London system. But today we play e4, e5. Just mixing it up. Knight c6. Sorry, knight f3. Knight c6 from my opponent. Now there's a lot of options. You can go bishop to b5, which is the Ruy Lopez. You can go bishop to b4, which is the Italian game. You could play knight to c6 if you wanted. I mean, knight to c3 if you so chose to. But we play the move d3. c3. And the move c3 has one main idea in the Ponziani opening, which is always the move d4. You want to put two pawns in the center. You want to support the center pawn push, so that way if they take, you will be able to recapture with your c pawn and just have two pawns in the center. So my opponent goes h6. We go for d4. They take. I take back. Now, as I've said, two pawns in the center. And now the most challenging move in this opening is the move d5, striking back at the center against this e-pawn. But instead of that, my opponent chooses to go knight to c3, knight f6. Now what knight f6 does is that attacks my pawn. Pretty self-explanatory, but that does allow me to play the move e5. Now according to the engine, d5 was slightly better, probably because the knight can just come in and blockade the center, which is probably why d5 was a tad bit better there. But knight to d5, which blockades this d-pawn, so it can't go forward. But nonetheless, you play on. Now the move bishop to c4 has really two ideas. Well, mainly one. The main idea is that you put pressure on this knight. But what I probably should have done instead, according to the engine here, was a move like knight c3, finishing my development, and also applying pressure. But the reason I didn't play knight c3 is because I didn't want them to take, me to take. I don't really like that, but I suppose I'd have this nice pawn chain here, which is quite good. Another move is queen b3. Same idea as bishop to b4. You're applying pressure to this knight, but also pressure on the pawn on b7. There are some other moves, but I do play the third best move, which is bishop to c4. This move just made more sense to me because I develop a piece. My opponent goes knight to e7 here, which is defending this knight in the center. But I go queen to b3. Now, instead of queen to b3, the computer also gives castling as an option. The computer goes castling as an option, and knight to c3 as the best moves, but I go queen b3, applying pressure to this knight, and also applying pressure to the pawn on b7. My opponent goes c6, which is the only move in this position that maintains any hope for black, which holds the knight in the center, because it's important to note that if the knight ever moves away like this, then bishop takes f7 is simply checkmate. Bishop checks the king, and as you can see by the eval bar, there's nothing black can do. So black's forced to defend the knight, so they do that by playing move c6. Now I play the move knight to c3, which again adds pressure to this knight. So now I have 3 attackers on this knight versus 1, 2 defenders. Now my opponent goes c6. Now the thing about g6. Now the thing about the move g6, the reason why it's a mistake, I think has to do with the fact that it drastically weakens the square, which is really bad. Because my follow-up move immediately takes advantage of that weakness, which is the move knight e4. And this is a great move according to the computer, because you're threatening a smothered checkmate on either f6 or d6. So, the only move here, really, is either you move your knight somewhere to probably guard against one of the mate threats, like knight g8, for example. Yeah, knight g8. So that way, whenever this check happens, the king has an escape square. So either way, you have to create an escape route for the king. Because if you stop the mate threat on this square, then you still have it on this square, and vice versa. I guess queen b3 also works. Queen b5, sorry. But then you have, let's see, knight d6 check, king d8, actually, let's take a look at this. So let's say queen b5. Sorry, queen c7. My bad. d6 check. King h8. Sorry, king d8. Then maybe you just straight up in the center. The point is that black loses his castling rights. Their castling rights. You can bash up in the center and just go on a checkmate attack against the king, and then most likely they have to sacrifice material to stay in the game. So my opponent goes bishop to g7, which is indeed the best move. So after bishop g7, we do go knight d6 check, which forces king f6, king f8, which makes the opponent lose their castling rights. Now, we play the move, or I play the move, knight h4. Now, knight h4 has the idea of playing queen to f3. And queen f3, and checkmate, with the knight defending. So queen f3 threatens. Queen takes f7 mate. Defended by the knight. But queen f3 also threatens. Wait. I was gonna say you have this fork here. But then the knight would recapture. Ah. So queen f3. Let's say they... Hold on. Wait, queen f3. The point is that you're threatening a checkmate. So after they defend against the checkmate, then you would simply take the knight. And then, I guess, to just go on to 1. But anyways, g4. No, b5. Now b5 is a mistake because of the move queen f3, which is what I was just talking about. Because here, you're threatening the fork, like I mentioned previously, and you're also threatening a checkmate. In this position, the computer gives knight f5 as the best move for black, because this breaks the pin and also disconnects the knight and queen from coordinating on that square. But then you still have what? Knight h takes, but then you still take. And now if they recapture, they've blunted the attack. I'm honestly not sure what the thing is here. But then I guess, hold on. I suppose after BC, you have this move, which threatens a mate. And then you also have this move. Sorry, you also have this move. So honestly, a very interesting position. Either way, it's losing for black, whatever black does. So my opponent goes here, which blunts the queen with the fence and the bishop. But now I play knight takes d5. But first, I take here instead of recapturing on d5. Because after this, because if they take back with the pawn, because after they recapture, because in this position, I'm actually threatening to fork them. But I couldn't do that before because this knight was guarding that square. Which is why the opponent retook like this. They defend against the fork on here. But now we go knight takes g6 check, which forks the king and the rook in the corner. My opponent goes here, which is forced, by the way. Nope. The reason why this is forced is because the knight is covering those two squares. And you can't take my knight, so that move is forced. Well, I simply take the rook. And now my opponent probably should have played something else. Like, I don't know. This. Just something. Or maybe just recapture the knight with a bishop. But instead of that, my opponent... And if they had done this, then I probably would have used the G file to attack my opponent's king, castle, the f4, rook lift, something along those lines. But the game ends with the king taking, then knight f7, with the fork on the queen and the king, and my opponent resigns the game. So, this is the first time I have played the Ponziani opening, and I'd say this opening was a success. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Bye guys.